I never really thought I'd be the guy posting one of these long stories, but honestly, I've been holding this in for years, and it still sits heavy in my chest every time I think about it. If you've ever played sports, especially at a competitive level, you know it's not just about the game. It's about identity. It's about who you are when people look at you, how you define yourself when you wake up in the morning. For me, it was baseball. It wasn't just a sport. It was the one thing I was actually good at, the one thing that made sense when everything else in my life felt like noise. Growing up, I wasn't the smart kid or the funny kid. I wasn't the popular one either. My dad didn't exactly make things easy. He always had a way of cutting me down before I could even stand up straight. Nothing I did was ever good enough. If I got a B in school, he'd say, "Figures, you never focus." If I hit a double in a game, he'd say, "Why not a home run?" So yeah, baseball became my escape. On that field, it wasn't about him. It was about me and the crack of the bat and the way the world narrowed down to just the ball, the dirt, and the bases. By the time I hit high school, I was decent. Not some prodigy, but solid. The kind of player coaches like because I showed up, shut up, and worked. I wasn't flashy. I wasn't the guy making highlight reels or posting on Instagram about every win. I was steady. I'd grind in the cages, run my laps, do my drills. People called me a bench warmer sometimes, but it wasn't because I couldn't play. It was because our coach played favorites. And his favorite, without question, was Kyle. Kyle was the golden boy. Tall, good-looking, big swing, cocky smile. He knew how to make people believe in him, even when he half-assed everything. He'd show up late to practice, joke around during conditioning, flirt with girls in the stands instead of focusing on drills. But come game day, coach always had him in the starting lineup. Didn't matter if he struck out 3 times the last game. Didn't matter if he dogged it in the outfield. Kyle got the spotlight because Kyle looked like a star. I hated it, but I kept my mouth shut. My dad always said complaining was just another word for weakness, so I bit down and worked harder. Deep down, though, I hoped. No, I knew. If the right person saw me play, they'd understand. They'd see the grind, the discipline, the consistency. Scouts don't just want flash, they want reliability. That's what I kept telling myself anyway. Then came the showcase. This was the day. College scouts were coming. The stands had more adults with clipboards than kids with jerseys, and you could feel the nerves hanging in the air. Every player out there was buzzing. This was where scholarships were made, futures decided. I was in the dugout lacing up when Kyle leaned over, real casual, with that smirk that made you want to punch him and hate yourself for wanting to. He said, "Don't bother, man. Coach already told them you're just a bench warmer." I laughed it off in the moment, like it didn't sting, but it burned in my chest. You ever get that hot, buzzing anger where your ears ring and you can't even hear yourself think? That was me. And then, like clockwork, coach pulled Kyle into the starting lineup. I didn't even get called to warm up until late in the game. Still, I played my ass off when I got in. Clean hits, sharp fielding, no mistakes. But it didn't matter. Kyle hogged the spotlight as usual. And after the game, I saw it. His post on Instagram. Picture of him pointing to the stands, caption, "Scouts came for me." Guess some people just aren't built for this. I just sat there staring at my phone like someone had punched me in the gut. And then it got worse. A notification from my dad. He'd sent me a screenshot of Kyle's post, and all he wrote was, "He's right. Time to grow up and quit dreaming." That one broke me. Not because it was surprising. My dad had always been like that. But because some part of me still hoped he'd see me, that he'd recognize how hard I'd been fighting. Instead, he doubled down on tearing me down. I didn't reply to him. Didn't even open Kyle's post again. But I also didn't let it go. Because the thing about Kyle, he wasn't careful. He loved bragging. Loved running his mouth when he thought nobody important was listening. And I had receipts. For months, I'd been clipping little bits of video. Him skipping practice. Him faking an ankle injury to get out of drills. Him straight up saying to a buddy on camera, "I'm only here to pad stats for a scholarship. Once I'm in, I don't care." At first, I kept those videos for myself, just to remind me I wasn't crazy for seeing through him. But that night, I pulled them all together. Edited clip by clip. Burned them onto a USB. Next morning, when the scouts were still in town, I found my chance. Slid that USB across the table to the head scout. Didn't say much. Just, "You might want to see this." And that was the moment everything started to change. The longest week of my life was the one after I handed over that USB. I didn't know if they'd even look at it. For all I knew, maybe it'd just sit in the scouts' hotel trash can, forgotten. But I couldn't shake the image of it either. My hands would go sweaty just thinking about what might happen if Kyle found out what I'd done before anyone else did. Practice that week felt tense. Coach had this sharp edge to him, pacing the field like a man with something on his mind. He didn't yell, but he had that look, the one where his jaw was tight and his eyes darted over us like he was trying to see through our skin. Kyle didn't notice, of course. He was still being his usual loud self, cracking jokes, bragging about the offers he was sure were coming. By Thursday, it happened. Coach called me into his office. It was just the two of us. He leaned back in his chair, studying me for a long time before speaking. "You've been quiet lately," he said. I shrugged, just trying to focus. He nodded, then leaned forward. "Listen, I don't know what you did, and I'm not asking, but the scouts saw something. They want you. You're their guy." I didn't even breathe at first. I thought he was joking. "Me? Yeah, you. Kyle's not going to be with us anymore." He paused, rubbing his temple like he had a headache. "They pulled every recommendation. He's done." I didn't know how to react. Relief hit first, pure relief. After years of being overlooked, finally, someone had seen me. But right behind that came guilt, heavier than I expected. Because no matter how much Kyle deserved it, I knew I'd been the one to tip the domino. By that afternoon, the news had already spread. Kyle stormed out of the locker room, red in the face, throwing his helmet against the wall hard enough to crack it. He didn't even look at me, but I felt the heat of his anger across the room. Guys were whispering, confused, some even scared. Kyle had always been the big personality. Without him, the air felt different. That night, my phone started blowing up. Unknown number at first, then I realized it was Kyle's mom. Her first message, "What did you do?" Second, "He lost everything." Third, "Answer me right now." I sat there staring at my screen, my stomach churning. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard. What could I even say? That her son wasn't who she thought he was? That all the lies had finally caught up to him? She kept spamming, messages popping up so fast my phone buzzed nonstop. Finally, I typed back, "Bench warmers don't run the game." That shut her up. But even after I sent it, I just sat there in the dark, the glow of my phone lighting up my hands. My heart was pounding. I thought about Kyle, about how easy everything had always been for him until now. And then I thought about me, about my dad. I didn't even tell him the scouts wanted me. What was the point? If I said it, he'd just find a way to downplay it, to make it feel small. So instead, I kept it to myself. Quiet victory. Secret fuel. But Kyle didn't stay quiet. By the weekend, he was everywhere online, ranting about how the system was rigged, how scouts didn't understand real talent, how people were out to get him. He posted videos slamming doors, punching walls, saying he'd been betrayed. A couple kids on the team reposted his stuff, dropping vague captions like, "Fake friends show their colors." I knew they were talking about me, even if they didn't say it outright. I felt torn in half. On one side, I wanted to stand up and say, "Yeah, it was me. I did it. I exposed him because I was tired of watching him walk all over everyone." But on the other side, I wanted to stay hidden because if people really knew, I'd be branded a snitch forever. So I swallowed it. Walked into school with my head down, ignored the whispers, ignored the looks. On the field, though, different story. Suddenly, coach was putting me in the lineup every game. Suddenly, he was telling scouts, "Keep your eye on him. Reliable player. Hard worker." Suddenly, my name was the one in the local sports column instead of Kyle's. And damn, it felt good. But it also felt fragile. Like if I blinked, if I slipped up once, it would all vanish and I'd be back in the shadows. That pressure ate at me. Every at-bat felt like it carried the weight of my entire future. Every ground ball I fielded felt like if I missed it, scouts would cross my name off their list forever. Meanwhile, Kyle wasn't done making my life hell. His friends, guys I used to hang out with, started leaving me out of everything. I'd see their group posts on Snapchat, late-night hangouts, parties, and my name wasn't on the invites anymore. When I passed them in the hall, I'd hear the mutters. "Backstabber. Snake." Funny thing is, none of them actually knew the truth. They were just parroting Kyle. But lies spread faster than reality, and I didn't correct them. At home, my dad stayed the same. Didn't matter if scouts were circling me now. Didn't matter if coaches were calling the house. His line never changed. "Don't get cocky. You'll just end up disappointing yourself." Sometimes I wondered if that was his way of keeping me from flying too high, because he never could. So yeah, I walked around in this weird haze. Half proud, half guilty, half terrified, half unstoppable. I'd sit in class staring at my notes, not hearing a word the teacher said, because my brain was stuck on the field, stuck on the idea of proving everyone wrong, even if it meant burning bridges I used to walk every day. That was just the beginning. The thing about secrets is they don't stay buried forever. You can tell yourself you're invisible, that nobody knows what you did, but people aren't stupid. They feel the shifts. And in a small-town high school, gossip spreads faster than wildfire. By the second week after Kyle's blow-up, I could tell the rumor had legs. Nobody came up to me outright, but the way people looked at me, yeah, I knew. Teachers, teammates, even kids I barely talked to in class gave me those sideways glances like they were trying to do the math in their heads. Did he really? Could he? Kyle wasn't subtle either. He cornered me in the hallway one afternoon, right between third and fourth period, where the crowd was thick enough to make sure people saw. He slammed his locker shut and turned to me with that tight, angry grin. "You think you're slick, huh?" he said, loud enough for the whole hall to hear. I froze. My backpack strap cut into my shoulder, my palms sweaty. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Bullshit." He stepped closer, practically nose to nose. "You think nobody's gonna figure it out? Scouts don't just flip like that. Somebody fed them something, and guess who? Little bench boy." People were staring now, pretending not to but totally staring. My throat went dry. Every instinct in me wanted to deny it, to shrink back, but I held my ground. I said low, "Maybe they just saw the truth." That hit him. His eyes flicked, just for a second, like I'd pulled the rug out. Then he shoved past me, muttering loud enough for everyone. "Snake. Watch your back." That was the first time I realized this wasn't just about baseball anymore. This was about reputation, survival. From then on, it got worse. Kyle's little crew started actively messing with me. My cleats went missing from the locker room before practice. Somebody scratched up my car door in the school lot. During drills, if I was paired with one of his guys, they'd throw too hard or too short, making me look clumsy. Coach pretended not to notice, but I saw it in his eyes. He knew something was off. He just didn't want to deal with the drama. At night, I couldn't sleep. I'd lie awake staring at the ceiling, my chest buzzing like I'd drunk 6 Red Bulls. Half the time I was angry. Like, let them come at me, I'll show them who I am. The other half, I was drowning in guilt. Because as much as I hated Kyle, there was this voice in my head whispering, "You didn't just beat him. You nuked him." It didn't help that my dad doubled down. He found out about the scout interest. Word got around town. And instead of being proud, he sneered. "Don't think this means anything. You'll blow it the second real pressure hits." Sometimes I wondered if he wanted me to fail just so he could say he was right. But on the field, I was sharper than ever. Every swing, every catch, every sprint. I played like my life depended on it. And maybe it did. Because when scouts started coming back, I saw the way they nodded, the way they scribbled notes. I heard whispers about scholarships. For the first time in forever, the future felt like it could actually be mine. One game in particular stands out. Rival school, packed stands, scouts watching. I hit a clean triple that brought in 2 runs. The crowd went wild. Coach clapped me on the back, and for a moment, just a moment, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. But of course, Kyle was there. He wasn't on the team anymore, but he showed up in the stands, arms crossed, glaring at me like he wanted to crawl onto the field and rip my jersey off. After the game, he cornered me in the parking lot. "You think this is over?" he spat. His face was red, jaw tight. "You ruined me. My offers are gone. My future's gone. Because of you." I swallowed hard. "You ruined yourself, Kyle. Don't give me that shit." He stepped closer, eyes blazing. "You were supposed to be my teammate. You don't snitch on family." That word hit me, family. Like he'd ever treated me like that. Like I wasn't the guy he called a bench warmer, the guy he mocked in front of scouts. My hands shook, but I forced the words out. Teammates don't screw each other over for clout. For a second, I thought he was going to hit me. His fists clenched, his shoulders tensed. But instead, he laughed, this bitter, broken laugh, and turned away. "Enjoy it while it lasts. You're not built for this. You'll choke. And when you do, I'll be there to watch." He walked off into the dark, and I just stood there, my heart pounding, trying to convince myself he was wrong. But his words stuck. They echoed in my head during every practice, every game. I'd be mid-swing, and here, you'll choke. I'd be mid-fielding drill, and here, you're not built for this. And the worst part? Sometimes I believed him. The pressure kept building. Scouts kept circling. Coach kept praising. But inside, I felt like a time bomb. I'd sit in class staring at my notes, my mind screaming, don't mess this up. Don't prove him right. Meanwhile, the Kyle situation turned nuclear online. He started posting subtweets, cryptic stories, sometimes not even cryptic, straight up calling me out without using my name. Funny how rats climb when the lion's gone. Some people will sell their soul for a chance to be relevant. His mom even joined in. She posted on Facebook about how betrayal can come from those closest to you, and true talent always rises above lies. Our whole town was small enough that everyone knew exactly what she meant. And me? I stayed quiet. Didn't clap back. Didn't post anything. I just kept my head down and played. Because as much as the guilt tore me up, as much as the whispers made me feel like an outcast, I had one thing Kyle didn't anymore. A shot at something bigger than this town. And I wasn't about to let him take that from me. Not again. By spring, it felt like my whole life was running on adrenaline. Every week, there was another scout in the stands, another email to coach, another whisper about offers. Some days I could barely believe it was real. Me, the kid who was always told to quit dreaming, suddenly sitting in classrooms while grown men in polo shirts with clipboards asked about my stats. It should have been everything I wanted. And in some ways, it was. But when you've grown up with a voice in your head telling you you're not enough, success doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like a countdown. Every compliment just made me wonder when the other shoe was going to drop. At home, things didn't get easier. My mom stayed quiet like always. She'd smile at me when I came back from practice, sometimes leave out a plate of food, but never got in the middle of me and my dad. And my dad? He doubled down. The more I succeeded, the more bitter he seemed. One night after a game, I came home buzzing. I'd gone 3 for 4 at the plate, hit a double, and scouts had actually asked for my contact info. My phone was full of messages from teammates congratulating me. For once, I walked through the door with my chest high. My dad was sitting in his recliner watching TV. I told him about the scouts, expecting at least a nod. Instead, he smirked. Enjoy it while it lasts. Pressure like that? You'll fold. It felt like getting punched in the stomach. You can't just say good job for once. I snapped. He turned to me, eyes cold. Good job for what? For maybe getting noticed? That's nothing. You think they're offering you a contract? You're a small fish, son. Don't start thinking you're special. I wanted to scream at him, tell him he was wrong, that I was special, that I'd worked harder than anyone to get here. But instead, I just walked to my room, shut the door, and lay awake staring at the ceiling, my chest heavy. I realized then that no matter how far I went, he'd never give me what I wanted. And yet, some twisted part of me still wanted to prove him wrong more than anything. Meanwhile, Kyle wasn't disappearing quietly. He was like a storm cloud that kept circling back no matter how many times I thought it had passed. His online posts grew more unhinged, angrier, darker. He'd post videos of himself throwing in a batting cage, saying things like, still better than the frauds they're recruiting. He'd post long rants about loyalty, betrayal, fake friends. And sometimes, he wasn't vague at all. Funny how the guy who couldn't get off the bench suddenly became scout material the second he stabbed me in the back. People started picking sides. Some teammates blocked me completely. Others quietly told me, "Don't worry, we know he's full of shit." But the whispers never stopped. Walking through school felt like walking through a minefield. You never knew who believed what. The breaking point came at a party one weekend. I wasn't even planning to go, but one of my closer teammates convinced me. Come on, man, you need to celebrate for once. The second I walked in, I felt it. Eyes on me. Conversations pausing. And then I saw him. Kyle, standing near the back, drink in hand, smirk plastered on his face. I tried to ignore him, hung out near the kitchen, talking with a couple friends. But of course, he came over. Look who it is. Mr. Scout favorite. His voice dripped with venom. I clenched my jaw. Not tonight, Kyle. But he didn't back off. He stepped closer, raising his voice so everyone could hear. Tell me, do you feel good about yourself? Ratting me out, stealing my shot. The room went quiet. My chest pounded. I wanted to deny it, to say he was crazy. But I was so damn tired of hiding. So I looked him dead in the eyes and said, I didn't steal anything. You threw it away. I just made sure people saw the truth. The room erupted, some people gasping, others whispering. Kyle's face went red, and before I knew it, he shoved me. Hard. I stumbled back into the counter, drinks spilling everywhere. Snake, he spat. You'll choke. Just watch. People dragged him away before it turned into a fight, but the damage was done. The secret was out. That night, my phone exploded. Texts from teammates, friends, even people I barely knew. Some messages were supportive. Respect for finally saying it. Others were brutal. Snitch. Hope you fail. I sat in my room reading them all, my head spinning. I felt like I'd lit my entire world on fire. But then, the next day, I got a call. One of the scouts I'd been hoping for. They wanted me to come visit their campus. Meet the team. Talk scholarship. It was surreal, like the universe was telling me I was on the right path, no matter how messy it felt. Still, I couldn't shake Kyle's words. You'll choke. They echoed every time I thought about the future. My dad didn't make it easier. When I told him about the campus visit, he scoffed. Don't embarrass yourself. That night, something snapped in me. For the first time, I yelled back. Why do you even care? You've never believed in me, not once. You just want me to fail so you can be right. He stared at me, shocked. We stood there in silence, the air thick with years of unspoken tension. Finally, he muttered, You'll understand one day, and walked away. But I didn't want to understand him. I wanted to escape him. And that's when I realized this wasn't just about baseball anymore. This was about me proving to everyone, to him, to myself, that I wasn't just a bench warmer, that I could carry the weight, even if it crushed me. Because the scouts weren't waiting. The visit was coming. And if Kyle thought I was going to choke, if my dad thought I was going to fold, then I had only one option left. Prove them both wrong. The campus visit felt unreal. Everything was bigger than I imagined. The stadium, the locker rooms, even the weight room looked like something out of a movie. The head coach shook my hand and said, We like grinders. Kids who don't quit. That's what we've heard about you. Grinder. That word stuck with me. Nobody had ever called me that before, not like it was a compliment. My dad would have twisted it into an insult, like grinding was just desperation. But here, it meant something. I tried to take it all in, meeting players, seeing the dorms, imagining myself here. But under it all, the same thought kept buzzing in my head. Don't choke. Don't blow this. Don't prove them right. That night, in the hotel room with my mom, I couldn't sleep. She sat on the bed scrolling her phone while I paced. Finally, she looked up and said softly, You're ready, you know. You've worked for this. It hit me because she almost never said much. She wasn't the type to step between me and my dad, but right then, it felt like she was finally choosing a side. The next day, I worked out in front of the coaching staff, just fielding drills, batting practice, basic stuff. But my heart was hammering like I was in the World Series. I saw my dad's face in my head, his smirk. I heard Kyle's voice, You'll choke. But when the pitches came, my body took over. Years of repetition, of grinding in the cage when nobody was watching. It all clicked, crack after crack. Clean fielding, solid throws. By the time it ended, I was dripping sweat, chest heaving. The coaches nodded, smiling. One of them said, Told you. Grinder. They offered me a spot. Not full ride yet, but enough to get me in the door. For me, that was everything. I should have been on top of the world. But when I got back home, reality was waiting. The first text I saw was from Kyle. Congrats, Rat. Hope you enjoy it while it lasts. Then another. Everyone knows you wouldn't be shit without selling me out. I stared at the screen, my stomach turning. I could have ignored it. Should have ignored it. But I didn't. I typed back. I didn't sell you out. You sold yourself out. I just stopped covering for you. For a long time, no reply. Then finally, You'll choke. And when you do, I'll laugh. I dropped my phone and sat there in the dark, shaking. Not because I believed him, not completely, but because I knew a part of me always would. The weeks after, life turned into a blur. Papers to sign, calls with coaches, meetings about housing. Everyone at school knew I was leaving. Some kids congratulated me, some avoided me. Kyle stopped showing up in person, but his presence lingered like smoke you can't get out of your clothes. People still whispered, still muttered. But the thing was, I didn't care as much anymore. The real battle was at home. My dad didn't congratulate me. Not once. When the letter came, he just grunted. We'll see how long that lasts. One night, I finally snapped. Why can't you just be proud of me? I shouted. He looked at me, eyes cold. Because I know what failure looks like. And I don't want you thinking one offer means you're safe. I wanted to argue. I wanted to break something, scream, anything. But instead, I just said, "You'll see," and walked out. I think that was the last real conversation we had before I left for college. The day I packed up, my mom hugged me tight, tears in her eyes. My dad, he stayed in his chair, watching TV, barely looked up. For a second, I wanted him to say something, anything. But he didn't. So I closed the door behind me. College ball was a whole new world. Faster, harder, tougher than anything I'd known. But the grind? That was mine. I leaned into it. Early mornings, late nights, batting cages until my hands blistered. I wasn't the star, not at first, but I was steady, reliable, grinder. And every time I stepped up to the plate, I heard Kyle's voice in the back of my head. "You'll choke." But I never did. By sophomore year, I was starting. By junior year, I was one of the leaders. Scouts came back around, this time for me. I won't lie, sometimes I thought about Kyle. About the path he could have had if he hadn't been so busy playing the golden boy. Last I heard, he wasn't even playing anymore. Just working some part-time job, posting old highlight clips like he was still living in high school. One night, years later, I got a message on Facebook. It was from his mom. Just one line. "He still blames you, you know." I stared at it for a long time. My chest felt heavy, but not in the same way it used to. Back then, it would have crushed me. But now, I just shook my head. I didn't reply. Because the truth was, it wasn't about him anymore. It wasn't about proving him wrong, or even proving my dad wrong. It was about proving myself right. That I wasn't just a bench warmer. That I could carry it. Sometimes, late at night, I still hear the voices. My dad's, "You'll fold." Kyle's, "You'll choke." But then I remember the crack of the bat, the cheer of the crowd, the word that kept me going through it all: grinder. And for the first time in my life, I believe it. Because bench warmers don't run the game. And I do.